Good evening. Linda, could you please give the invocation?
Bow our heads. Holy and righteous Father, we thank you for this night, for all that give their time, talents, and energy to do what is needed for this city and those who dwell therein. As I sought you today, Lord, the words that I heard was wait. So the scriptures that go with that, Psalm 27:13 through 14. I believe that I shall look upon the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Wait for the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Wait for the Lord. Proverbs 3:5 through 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths. Lamentations 3:35. The Lord is good to those who wait for him, to the soul who seeks him. There may be many things that seem very urgent on the agenda tonight in the hearts and the minds of the people, but we know, Lord, that you have a timing and a supply for every project. We ask that we not run behind you or in front of you, but rather with you personally and corporately. We thank you that you are supplying all of our need according to your riches and glory. And I leave with these words from the song, Take Courage by Bethel Music. Take courage, my heart. Stay steadfast, my soul. He's in the waiting, he's in the waiting. And hold on to your hope as your triumph unfolds. He's never failing, he's never failing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Linda. Now that it is 6:02, we'll officially call this regular meeting of the council to order. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Mayor Miller,
Here.
Alderpersons Borneman,
Present.
Monroe is absent, Ross,
Here.
Parker,
Here.
Busker,
Here.
Shadle,
Here.
Misick,
Here.
and Berberay.
Here.
Thank you. If you could please stand and join us with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderman Ross.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item number 1 is the approval of the agenda. However, we are going to be eliminating the first and the last sections of the executive session, which will also eliminate item number 16. With that, was there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Ross. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Item number 2 is the approval of the minutes from the regular meeting on July 6, 2021. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second. Lysick.
Okay. Motion made by Alderman Misick, seconded by Alderman Busker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Item number 3 is public comments on agenda items. We have multiple people that have signed up for item number 8. Our ordinance reads that we can have 3 that are pro and 3 that are con, so we will take the first 3 in each one of those sections unless someone would like to forego their spot to allow someone else to speak. So first would be Alan Nowicki, if you'd like to speak.
Thank you. I'm Alan Nowicki, 1545 West Demeter Drive, and I'm not a politician or a developer or engineer or lawyer. I teach science, and so this process is very new to me. But in science, we do kind of similar things. We evaluate ideas by looking at evidence, and when there's conflicting ideas, uncertainty, we go through a very formal process to decide, and we decide what is the best evidence, and that's what decides the question. Who has the ideas really don't matter. We work to screen out opinion, especially opinion of interested parties. And I think this is supposed to work as a very similar process. Here, interested parties present arguments and evidence to non-partial, knowledgeable people, the staff, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and the Planning Commission. The law required a formal hearing. The applicant has the burden of proof to show hardship and to show that this is good for the public and the neighborhood. The Zoning Board of Appeals weighed the evidence. State law requires this process, and this is laid out by city ordinance. The LaSalle and Sinclair factors provided a framework for addressing both the burden of proof and the proposed change in zoning. Was months of work. The Zoning Board of Appeals made its recommendation, and that's intended to help the City Council do what's best for the city and all the taxpayers. This process protects the city from poorly planned development, legal challenges, and liability from poor decision-making. The city attorney last time reminded us that the question before us is the change in zoning and not approving the plat. And it's difficult not to get bogged down in fixing the plat. On the other hand, details matter. The developer has a plat with unresolved problems that doesn't fit in with the existing neighborhood. Don't ignore the many meetings and testimony. Don't ignore the work and judgment of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Don't ignore the parts of the comprehensive plan and ordinances that ask the developer to invest in the neighborhood. This is important. This is not a question of do you want development or not. It is not a question of do you want more tax revenue and jobs or not. Do you really think the Zoning Board of Appeals would turn down a plan that would blend in nicely with a neighborhood, add millions in new taxes? They have looked at the plan and concluded that it doesn't meet the standard. Every other incomplete development in town once promised millions in new taxes and lots of jobs. And these, we've mentioned them: Fox Hollow, Rose Meadow, Terra West. Maybe if we're not so desperate for development, we can hold out for development that adds to the city and has a better chance of success. Thank you.
Thank you. And the second person to sign up is Edward Berg. You are welcome to have 3 minutes unless you wanted to forego yours. Thank you.
My name is Edward Brogue. I live at 1515 South Park Boulevard. The Illinois Department of Revenue has granted me status as a CIAO, Certified Illinois Assessing Officer, after completing the required classroom training. I am not opposed to land or improvement to land or real property that increases the real estate tax base. But I believe that the development under consideration, assuming there's a need for it to begin with, is in the wrong place. This is the exact wording the few are asking you to sign into law against the will of the many. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance are to be repealed insofar as they conflict. To amend the language so it applies only to the map change for the South Park Boulevard parcel would be selective law enforcement and open to challenge under the U.S. Constitution provisions for equal protection under the law. The language intends to repeal existing laws or parts of laws as they apply to this amendment. Once repealed for any purpose, they are no longer in force, and any future development, and a case could be made they no longer apply to existing developments of any kind. Existing developments or proposed developments could be revised if prior to the repeal, the repealed city laws conflicted with the developers or the owner's plans to build, make changes, or additions that are not currently allowed. For example, there is a current city law on the minimum curb-to-curb width of streets. That conflicts with the street width the developer proposes for the parcel at 601 South Park Boulevard. Will the proposed map amendment as written repeal the width of the law because it is in conflict with the current plan? Could the proposed 25-foot street then be dedicated to the city? In previous comment or testimony to the Zoning Board, the Zoning Board of Appeals, and/or the City Planning Commission, the developers have stated the estimated cost of this development is $15 million, and forecasted profit is approximately $50,000. How often the $50,000 would be realized or when was not stated. if the $50,000 return is only once after the sale of 32 units at the asking price, the return on investment is 3/1000ths of the investment. The return is a 3/1000ths return on the investment for
Mr.
some
Broke, your
unknown
3
period
minutes
of
has
time.
exceeded.
The investors are wealthy men. They have stated the $15 million is available at once and under their control. They
Mr.
did
Broke,
not
your
accumulate
3
their
minutes
wealth.
has exceeded. If you'd like to finish, you're welcome to do that at the end of the meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. And then lastly, for the con side would be Jeannie Olinger.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor, and members of the City Council. My name is Janine Olinger. I have lived at 1515 South Park Boulevard, immediately to the north of this proposed development at 1601 South Park since 1986. As to some facts about my background, I was a realtor with my husband Roy Olinger at Olinger Realty for 36 years. We were very successful in developing Terra West Subdivision, Oakbrook Trail condominiums, Woodbridge Mobile Home Park, and dozens of other developments in and around the city of Freeport. The question before the City Council is whether the property at 1601 should be zoned R5 or stay as it presently is, R2, single-family residential. The neighborhood citizens want this property to remain R2, the developers RS. I sincerely hope that no one votes for this proposition because they want to curry favor from someone. This 6+ acres of land at 1601 South Park, now zoned R2, would not be acceptable for this proposed condominium developed for many, many obvious reasons, including the following. The extreme density of this proposed development would be a total departure from the surrounding properties to the north, east, and west, many of which are single-family homes, some on lots of an acre or more. The retention pond at the south end would be a total eyesore for the neighbors or anyone driving by. I passed around a picture of a retention pond, and what this will look like, except it won't have any parkway, green, or sidewalk. It'll be right next to the roadway on Demeter Drive. This will be a total eyesore. Have you seen the detention pond between Gemma-Riffix on Meadows Drive in the back of the Shell station? It is, as I said, a total eyesore. See the photos that I provided this evening. Where are the HOA residents going to put the snow after a snowstorm such as we had in 1979 and will certainly have again? Where are the cars going to park on Demeter Drive while waiting to enter this project when there is no place off-road to park while waiting to enter Park Boulevard? This will cause a total bottleneck for traffic trying to turn either left or right onto Park Boulevard or into this project. This would look like an ugly, deep scar in the complexion of the neighborhood because of its difference in density, style, and purpose. If this development is approved, we don't want to have future residents in Freeport say to themselves, how could this possibly have happened? I guarantee if this is approved and goes forward, this will definitely be asked. Thank you for listening and contemplating these disturbing proposals. I might add, I put some more notes down here if I have time. They passed the Stevenson Street Mall, and that is no longer there. And that was a big mistake. And so there have been mistakes made, and this would be another mistake. And in my opinion, I know a lot of people don't agree with me, the Scottsdale Library, I call it the Scottsdale Library because the Freeport Library looks like the Scottsdale Library. We live there in the winter, and I go to that. And this isn't Scottsdale, but they spent so much money, we'll be paying taxes forever on that.
Thank you, Mrs. Olinger. Your time has exceeded.
Okay, thank you.
And so then we'll move on to 3 public comments that are pro. We have one that clerk will read in that was received by email.
This was received from Paul Rampenthal. Ms. Miller, I would like to voice my support for the Park Boulevard condo project. I believe that it is a suitable use for the property and a well-needed addition to property tax revenues for the city. However, I believe that a condition for approval should be for the extension of Fairway Drive to Oak Hill Drive. This would help to alleviate the traffic on La Cresta and provide another access point for the residents that live in the area of Oak Hill, Hillcrest, and Sylvan. It would also provide another access point for emergency service vehicles trying to access that area, which is, as it stands now, has limited access points and could delay response times for emergency service vehicles if there were ever a disaster. I know that the city has a very limited budget, but there is a lot of vehicle traffic on La Cresta, which is narrow and potentially hazardous due to the numerous pedestrians and bicyclers. Thank you for your consideration on this matter, Paul Rampenthal.
Thank you. And then lastly, for public comments would be Todd Wiegand.
Good evening. My name is Todd Wiegans. I live at 1575 West Demeter. Park Partners is seeking a map amendment from R2 to R5 to develop condominium development on property that's been vacant since 2006. We believe in this project and the overall benefit to the community. We knew there would be some opposition. Change can be difficult. All we ask is that that be weighed proportionally against the benefits to the whole community. An estimated $6.4 million of new residential use and $3.5 million of real estate tax revenue over the next 20 years. Off-site sewer on Demeter Drive serving an unsewered portion of the city. Local construction and related professional jobs over the next 2 to 3 years. A transition between the adjacent residential, recreational, commercial, and multifamily uses, including the Freeport Club, which includes a bar, restaurant, and banquet facilities, would benefit significantly, and there are already 230 acres of available recreational property immediately to the west and south. The single greatest concern appears to be the issue of project density. However, the project density is far less than that allowed within R5 zoning standards. There are several alternatives available that could result in a much greater density development. Country Club Condos, located 300 feet northeast, has 16 units on approximately 1 acre. With just 8 similar units on this property, there would be twice as many units than we propose. The condominium development at Parkview, noted by city staff as an acceptable development, just 3 blocks northwest, has 35 units on 6 acres. I stated that based on the zoning ordinance alone, the property could be developed with a minimum of 18 and up to 24 single-family residences under the current R2 zoning. This is supported by Mayor Books' memo that stated the number 21. In essence, we're seeking a map amendment to put in fewer structures than we would be permitted under the current zoning designation. The project fits precisely with the City of Freeport Comprehensive Plan, developed and adopted by City Council less than a year ago. We read the plan and we believed in it. And we ask for your support of this project if you believe in it as well. I live directly across the street from this property and I support this project. In my prior life, for nearly 30 years, my firm worked on similar developments in many communities and over several states, as well as hundreds of projects for the City of Freeport. I'm asking for the opportunity to work with you one more time to better our community. I'm also a concerned citizen, and I ask you, when was the last time the City of Freeport had a fully financed project of this magnitude? The comprehensive plan states that 1 new home has been built in the last 10 years.
Mr. Wiegans, your 3 minutes has exceeded.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the other 4 that had signed up, you're welcome to stay to the end and have your 3 minutes at the end if you choose. Next, we'll move on to item number 4, which is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is considered to be routine in nature and acted as one motion unless there's something that the member of council would like to remove for further discussion. Is there anything, council? The consent agenda consists of approving and receiving and placing on file the minutes and of boards and commissions of the Board of Fire and Police Commissioners for March 23rd, April 6th, 7th, 27th, and May 4th, 2021. The Library Board, April 14th and May 12th, 2021. The Liquor Commission, June 10th and June 30th, 2021. Approval to receive and place on file the semi-annual report to the city manager from the Liquor Commission from January to June 2021. The approval to receive and place on file the Freeport Housing Authority monthly report for June 2021. The approval of finance bills payable in the total of $1,757,628.47 and payroll for pay period ending July 3rd, 2021 in the total of $552,888.09, and the finance report for June 2021 and the cash and investment report for June 2021. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Ross, seconded by Alderman Shadle. Madam Clerk, could you please take the roll?
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle. Meissick.
Aye.
Berbere.
Aye.
Borneman.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 5, Madam Clerk, could you please read the appointment?
We have an appointment of Dustin Wilkinson to the Board of Zoning Appeals effective until June 30th, 2025.
And is there a discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved again.
Second.
We have a motion made by Alderman Ross, seconded by Alderman Meissick to approve Dustin Wilkins to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Could you please take the roll?
Ross.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle. Meissick.
Aye.
Berbere.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 6 is the first reading of ordinance 2021-29. Madam Clerk, could you please read this for the record?
Ordinance amending various sections of the Code of Ordinances regarding water and sewer fees.
Thank you. Manager Bucus.
Thank you, Your Honor. As you're aware, the United States Environmental Protection Agency and the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency are proposing new rules and regulations regarding the testing and treatment of various chemicals that can be found in our drinking water. That includes any type of lead and copper testing and nitrogen and phosphorus removal as well. We're looking at adding 2 additional staff people to the water and sewer department in order to bring us into environmental and regulations and compliance for those new chemicals. The city, because of this, we feel that the city staff feels that the city is required to add an environmental and regulatory compliance officer and another lab technician to help in the monitoring of these new regulations and testings that have to take place. It's within the foreseeable future. We're anticipating that our current lab manager will also be retiring, and so adding these 2 positions will help with the transition when that should occur. Funding for this proposal has to come through the water and wastewater operations budget. There are no grant opportunities for water and wastewater operations, only mostly for capital. The City Council has discussed this issue on a number of occasions during the last 8 weeks. At the last Committee of the Whole meeting, which was held on July 12th, the majority of City Council members voted to move forward a proposal that the water and sewer capital improvement fee be reduced by $1 per month. This dollar would then be redistributed to the water base fee by 25 cents, and the sanitary sewer base fee would be increased by 75 cents. Since the base fees do not impact water usage, the transfer of $1 would have 0 impact on a utility customer's bill. It is also further recommended or proposed that this rate go into effect on September 1st, 2021, and it staff's recommendation that Council move forward with the proposed ordinance number 2021-19, or 29, excuse me.
Discussion? Alderman Borneman?
Sure. Manager Bucus, this would reduce, this proposal would reduce the storm water and sewer capital improvement fee by $1.
It would reduce the water and sanitary sewer fee by $1.
$1.
Capital fee.
Okay. I had $1.26 as one option. Where am I remembering that from?
At one time, we were talking about $1.31, 26 cents would have gone to the water fund, and $1.05 would have gone to the sanitary sewer fund.
So this is, instead of reducing it by $1.31, it's going to be reduced by $1.
Correct.
Okay. So that's going to save the average taxpayer, well, all taxpayers, $24 over approximate 2-year period.
The way it's being proposed, it would have a zero impact because the base fee on our water bills remains the same. It doesn't matter how much water you use 1,000 gallons or 100,000 gallons, that base fee is still the same. And I believe that the base fee would go for water would go from $4.30 to $4.55. And on the sewer end, it would go from $6.16 per month to $6.90 per month. So that would remain the same. So technically, since you're taking a fixed fee and adding it to another fixed fee, it would zero out each other.
Okay, so I misremembered that. So this option is the net zero change. It's just rearranging funds. The other option we had at the committee of the whole meeting was to increase the rates by, well, at the time it was $1.31.
That's correct. It would have been 26 cents on water and $1.05 on the sewer end.
Okay, so if we were to go that route, it would have cost taxpayers an additional roughly $30 over 2 years.
That's correct.
That's the rough math there. Then this route, which doesn't, I guess up front it doesn't appear that it's going to reduce or cost taxpayers any additional funds per statement, will cost the city $240,000 that it can no longer put towards water and sewer development
That's correct. Over the 2-year period.
over that 2-year period. So you were the finance department director. You have a background in this. In 2 years from now, will $240,000, $240,000, $250,000 be worth as much today as it is in 2 years?
No, it'd be worth less
So
because of inflation.
right. So we'll be able to purchase less in 2 years with this amount of money, once things go back to normal, if they go back to normal.
That's correct.
So, in a sense, isn't this costing taxpayers money?
Either way you look at it, it's gonna cost the users something in the long run,
Okay.
short term and long run.
Okay. I guess maybe I didn't make my point well, but to the members of council, I just asked you to consider why we have these capital improvement fees in the first place, and it's because our roads and our infrastructure is laughable, and it has been for decades, and it's been neglected for decades. And the city put together a plan, capital improvement plan, that was a tough decision to set aside funds, an unpopular decision to set aside funds, but to make these improvements that everyone complains about the roads. And if I'm not mistaken, we're replacing sewer lines that are from the 1880s, correct?
Water and sewer lines that, date back to 1880s in some areas, yes, early 1900s.
Okay, so my position is, by going this route and reducing the capital improvement fee, we may be avoiding a cost to pass on to the taxpayers by roughly $30.24 per individual over a 2-year period. But what we're really costing is the ability of the city to make these needed repairs. And at the end of the day, with how inflation works, we're going to need to make these repairs anyway. And then when we add this money in down the road, we're going to pay more for the money. The repairs are going to cost more. So overall, as I found at the committee of the whole meeting, I don't think this is the responsible move. I think the responsible move, the unpopular move may be unpopular, but the responsible move would be to stick to the capital improvement plan, increase the rates, but allow us to continue this plan that is definitely needed and improve the infrastructure of the city instead of what I consider this to be is somewhat kicking the can down the road. And at a certain point, the can's, I don't know how old this can is, and I don't know how much road we have left, literally, because, you guys have seen our roads, even though this is sewers, but, pardon the pun. I just feel that it's irresponsible to go this route. I think the responsible move is to continue to the plan, increase the rates, and as we discussed, come up with in the meantime, solutions to find another way to finance this in the time being. But that's my position on it. I've thought a lot about it, and that's my 2 cents.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Misick.
Thank you, Alderman Borneman, for sharing your perspective on this. I know that we've had a lot of concern with residents in Freeport on the cost of water sewer charges, and really taking that into consideration, the council has had to take some time to look at the various options available to us as to what can we do that would avoid an increase to each resident's water bill. And so we empathize with you as fellow residents that that's not something that we wish to do. The capital improvement plan was set up with those funds as such. And we are taking a very close look at what options are available to us. Now, over the course of the next couple of years, we're looking also at adding funding options as well. This is again an area that as we look for grants that can be used toward these types of projects, that is to try to be very innovative in that approach. And some of those ideas take some time to develop as well. I know there's some of us in the council that have seen this really as our option right now to execute upon, and there are some areas even right now that funding may possibly come into us to our water and sewer department. I had one question also for Manager Bucas. Could you give us an idea where additional funding may be available to the water department that could be used for infrastructure? Anything that we're working on that could potentially bring additional revenue in to recoup any loss due to the capital fund loss?
Well, part of the capital improvement fund also goes towards debt service and that. So we've been fortunate in the past that we've been able to obtain some very low interest loans from the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, at 1% or 1.01%. And part of that's also been forgivable. We've also been fortunate to receive 100% forgivable loans, especially as it lays out to the lead service program that we're doing right now, $12 million. We've gotten $4 million now, or we'll have $12 million by the time that project's completed. We're always looking for low interest loans or grants, and as a matter of fact, we're going out for bids right now for the Oak Hill and Hillcrest area sewer. That was a grant that we're getting from the IEPA. So we're always looking for those opportunities every place we go, and we'll continue to do so because that's the only thing we can do. But as far as paying back those loans that we have to pay back, unfortunately, we're not going out in the open market and bonding some of this stuff like we had in the past. We've been working with the IEPA, and we've been very fortunate to be getting these loans from them. That money has to be paid back somewhere, and that's usually through the operating fund. And the only way we get any money from the operating fund is when people turn their faucets on and they use the water, and then it goes down the sewer, and they pay their bills. So that's really the only way we're ever going to recoup any type of operating monies.
Okay, thank you.
So, Council, I totally agree with the $200 million capital improvement plan that we had set forth to accomplish in 20 years. I personally don't believe that we won't be able to accomplish that by temporarily diverting this money. What I do believe is that you and the staff are creative enough to figure out with some time where that additional, actually very small amount of money comes from when you're looking at a budget of the size that we have. So for me, last week I was caught off guard, not knowing that I was going to be having to place a vote. Totally didn't see that coming, but, I consider it an honor to be able to cast my vote in that, simply because for running for 3 different terms, one is as councilman and 2 as mayor, I always stood on the platform of doing everything that we could not to raise taxes and fees. And so it was an easy decision for me. And I think that we have enough creativity sitting around this room to be able to come up with the difference in the next couple of years and still be able to accomplish our capital improvement plan.
Mayor.
Alderman Ross.
Okay, Manager Bucus. The majority of these funds will go towards the 2 employees that we are required to bring on, hire, should we say, correct?
We're looking at hiring two people. So, yes,
So, yeah, and that is the main reason why we're having to do this at this time, correct?
yes, at this time, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
Alderman Borneman.
I just wanted to add something I forgot to initially include is I'm not optimistic. I mean, I'm hopeful that we can accomplish the capital improvement plan in the set amount of time, but this would potentially extend the amount of time these capital improvement fees would be on the water bill, which is the majority of everyone's complaints to begin with, right?
It could. There again, the question was asked as to other options, and like I said, we're always looking for grants, but if we don't find the grants and we can't get the low interest loans, then those fees will be on there for quite a bit of time because we're going to have to finance it through those fees one way or another.
Is it safe to assume you're always looking for grants, though?
We're always looking, yes.
Right, so you could find grants to move the capital improvement plan to be completed even sooner if this wasn't changed.
Yes, and we are getting some American Rescue Plan money. State, by the way, hasn't even asked the federal government to give us the allocation. But yeah, when we receive some of that money, we are planning to try to do some of our water work with some of that money, so that we're not even borrowing the low interest loan money. So there again, I mean, we're always looking at ways to reduce our costs and look for whatever funds are available that we either can get for free or we don't have to pay back. So, but when it boils down to is that eventually we rely on the ratepayers to keep our improvements going.
And Manager Bucus, what is the dollar amount of the American Rescue Plan that we weren't expecting?
Over the 2-year period, it would be $2.8 million, $1.4 million this year, and $1.4 million next year. And the funds have to be expended by December 31st of 2024.
I just want to conclude with, I mean, obviously no one on this council wants to raise rates. It's an unpopular decision politically, which I'm sure, I mean, whatever. I'm sitting here saying we should do it because, in my opinion, it's that important. The infrastructure in this city is the #1 complaint, and to me, one of the most embarrassing parts about the city when you drive through and see it, and to know that there's lines and things from 1880s. To me, it's the savings to the taxpayer is a $24 over 2 years, and the cost of the city is $250,000. To me, I think it weighs in favor of going that route while going the route to keep the capital improvement funds as is. And in the meantime, either way, the administration's always looking for ways to be creative and find new sources of income. That's not going to change. This isn't just going to, well, I've made my point, I guess, so that's all I have. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Alderman Busker.
Yes, Alderman Boardman, I appreciate you bringing up that, we came up with this capital improvement plan over the past 5 years, past 5 years or so that we've talked about it. Was in on a lot of those discussions. We had this budgeted without seeing any, it was budgeted coming solely from rates, not getting any low interest loans or grants. So, we're getting this EPA personnel thing thrown at us. You know, who's to say we're not gonna see a couple grants coming down later on down the line for that, but it gets hard getting phone calls from constituents saying that they can't afford their water bill now, they're taking, you know, they're cutting down to shower every other day, not doing as many loads of laundry, whatever. You know, it's really impacting these people, so it's really hard to sit there and say that, yeah, it's just another $1.30, but there are people that are tired of seeing their rates go up, you know, year by year. It's been the past 5 years, and then we have to add another one. I think for the meantime, we can, you know, I think we could be like Alderman Meisak said, you know, be a little creative and see what we can do here. That's just my opinion on it, but I think we can make this work for the short term.
Alderman Shadle?
How many, I guess, Rob, how many pockets in the city don't have city sewer service at the time? Would you know that off the top of your head?
I can't tell you that straight off the top of my head there, Alderman. How many
Would it be-
pockets in the city don't have sewer, like
Yeah.
unsewered communities?
Like, well, we've got the grant money coming for my neighborhood,
Sure.
Oakville, Hillcrest. That's not the only neighborhood in the city that doesn't have sewer.
Right, and there's several properties over on La Crusta. Most of the stuff that was in the county prior to being brought into the city, that was all septic.
But they still are in that same situation,
Yes,
not having that sewer.
right.
And
Meadowbrook is an example.
they can complain about their water rate, but they really aren't even complaining about their sewer rate. Because they don't even have that service available to them. And that's what this capital improvement fund is for, is to get the infrastructure up to par for everybody in the city. And you know, I understand totally about raising rates, but we've got a responsibility, I think, to make sure that everybody has services available to them. And when that's not the case, that $240,000 pushed out for 2 years, that's, I am not in favor of it at all.
Well, council, before you is an ordinance that lays out, like Manager Buckus said, so it's determining whether or not you choose to move it on to second reading.
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Meisak?
I'd like to move ordinance 2021-29 to our next scheduled meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion made by Alderman Meisak, seconded by Alderman Ross to move ordinance 2021-29 on to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Any further discussion, council? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next item. Item number 7 is the first reading of ordinance 2021-30. Could you please read this?
Discussion regarding ordinance amending Chapter 664, offenses relating to property regarding fallen structures and vegetation.
Thank you. Director Hines.
Thank you. So Part 6, Chapter 664 of the City of Freeport Codified Ordinances is regarding offenses relating to property. During and after the winter months this year, community development staff have seen fallen structures or vegetation on multiple properties in the city and find it to be a hazard to public health, and it may constitute trespassing. We've seen several instances where one person's property falls onto an adjacent property, and the matter, whether it's building or parts of a tree or a tree, have been left to be cleaned up by the adjacent property owner. So currently, our only means of enforcement would be to issue that adjacent owner a violation warning or notice for debris on their property. And the fallen structures or vegetation are a health hazard, and so this change would allow us to hold the owner from which the property fell responsible for cleaning up that material. So we've added some language that could go into Chapter 664 regarding people having to basically take responsibility of fallen vegetation or parts of a structure onto another person's property, so that if it happens, then and it's clear that it happened, then we can issue that homeowner a violation. So staff would recommend approval of the text amendment or to move it forward to the next meeting. And I can take any questions.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Busker?
Yeah, this sounds like good common sense change here. So I know that I had the unpleasant experience last year of my neighbor's tree falling on my garage. Luckily, they were nice enough to come over and clean it up, but I know that some areas don't have that. So if we can kind of encourage, kind of push people along to do that, I think that's a wise idea. I'd like to make a motion to move this forward.
Second.
Mayor,
Alderman Ross?
I understand the vegetation, but are we speaking of overgrown vines on up along the houses? Excuse me, up along houses, or I do say the fence line, but just all the overgrown vegetation, weeds.
Yeah, so if it's gone on to your property, then we could issue a violation notice.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, because we've always been able to, if it comes on your property, you can cut it back and throw it back over there,
Yep.
and where it came from. And but if they refuse to do it, and you can't do it, this is where this board stepped in at.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions, discussion? Alderman Borneman?
Yeah, Director Hines, would this require a neighbor to go onto someone else's property?
Yeah, so so say this year we had a lot of heavy snow, and some of that had caused garages to collapse or front porches to collapse. So if materials from their garage or front porch fell onto their neighbor's property, then it would require them to clean it up.
Thanks.
If there's no other discussion, we have a motion on the floor made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Parker to move ordinance 2021-30 on to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Item number 8 is the first reading of ordinance 2021-31. Could you please read this?
Ordinance approving map amendment for 1601 South Park Boulevard.
Thank you. Director Hines.
Thank you. So as you guys know, Park Partners LLC requested a map amendment for 1601 South Park to rezone the property from R2 one-family residence district to R5 two-family residence district to allow for a proposed condominium development. So since the hearing at the Zoning Board of Appeals on June 1st, 2021, the petitioner has decided to make the roadway within the proposed development private versus public. This was not the case before the public hearing, but it is the intent of the developer moving forward. As a private roadway, the developer is subject to the condominium chapter 1484 versus previously they were subject to the subdivision chapter 1224. And so this condominium chapter requires a hearing on the final plat, which would happen after the map amendment. So with consideration to the LaSalle Sinclair factors, staff did not recommend approval of the map amendment to Zoning Board at the June 3rd hearing or Planning Commission on July 8th to rezone the property from R2 to R5. At the Zoning Board of Appeals public hearing, after consideration of these factors and findings of fact, they voted 3-0 with 2 abstentions to deny the petition to amend the zoning map amendment. So 11 people were present to speak in objection of the map amendment here. 1 objector supplied evidence materials for the zoning board's consideration and council's consideration that's included with this packet tonight. And then after the hearing, the petitioner requested an extension, a date extension, and that document's included with this packet as well. So Planning Commission didn't end up seeing this until July 8th, and at that point it was a public roadway. A motion was made to approve the map amendment for 1601 South Park Boulevard from R2 to R5, based upon final plat approval and with the final plat containing landscaping plans. The vote was 2-2 with 2 abstentions. So we included, with this packet and information tonight, the Zoning Board and Planning Commission draft minutes, so they have not been approved by either board. It's just the draft version for reference, and there's a chance that they could be changed ultimately, but we wanted to just include those for reference. And then we also included the concept plans. They're not the same as what the preliminary plat has shown, the most recent preliminary plat that we've received. But those concept plans were submitted with this map amendment application. We have included the most recent preliminary plat from earlier in July. And then in addition, there was a petition and protest that staff received that we've included. This petition and protest ultimately means that the council has to vote. It has to be a 6-person approval in order for this to move forward. So you've had an opportunity to review the information, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Alderman Borneman?
With the petition and protest, you said it's a 6-person approval of, to move it forward or to ultimately approve it?
To ultimately approve the map amendment.
Okay. And that's 6-person, the law requires 6, is it the city ordinance or a state statute?
I believe it's it's both.
Okay. And is it says 6, or is that,
It's a supermajority.
so is that of the members present or of the council?
I think Attorney Zito is going to step in.
That'd be of the council. So state statute and our code mirrors that. So if you have this objection that's filed, this formal objection petition, then that'll trigger a 2/3 vote of the council. So we have 8 members of council. So then that would trigger 6 out of 8 to meet the 2/3.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, I have another question if no one has anything.
Yes, Alderman Borneman?
So, Director Hines, we spoke prior to the meeting, and I just kind of want to reiterate my thoughts. The ZBA's decision was to not approve an amendment to the zoning map. So their decision is that it is not appropriate for a single multi-unit house or a built structure to be on this parcel of land.
Yes, they did vote not to approve the map amendment. At the hearing, both the map amendment and the variance were considered together. Essentially, they were talked about during the map amendment hearing. So the preliminary plats that were provided to staff and for the board's review were, I guess, jumbled in with the map amendment review. So it was with consideration to the preliminary plats that were submitted. They did not feel that was appropriate.
For what it's worth, is this common in, you probably don't see too many, haven't seen as recently as many contested map amendments as this one, but in the past, is that common for there to be a consideration of the plat, even though the only issue is whether or not the map should be changed?
I have not experienced that before, so.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
if I may also answer this question. My experience has been that in most communities I work in, we try to take the preliminary plat with the zoning change so that the plan commission and city council can see what's being proposed for that parcel of land. And sometimes we'll even do it as a special use permit that the zoning will have a special use permit for that preliminary plat, and they still have to go through the preliminary plat process and the final plat process. But we don't have that capability here under our current ordinances.
And actually piggybacking on to Manager Bukas's comments, that in my experience as well, in seeing zoning, there is a lot of times the topic is discussed together so that whether it's the ZBA or the council can get a full picture of what's being considered. With that being said, it is always my recommendation, though, when it comes to the actual vote on the particular zoning item, whether it be a special use permit, a variance, or whatever, that, yes, while we discussed it together, your vote should be separate on those items, and when it comes time to the actual vote, you know, you're gonna wanna go through, and same with the council, ultimately, when it comes time to vote on this matter, for the final vote, is you guys are gonna wanna go through those LaSalle Sinclair factors and decide whether or not you agree with the findings that the ZBA made and the planning commission made as to those factors. If you're in agreement, then with them, and you felt that, you know, the facts support the fact that they didn't meet the LaSalle Sinclair factors, that the petitioner their project doesn't meet those factors, and therefore the rezoning is not appropriate for this particular piece of property, that's fine. But if you guys think that, well, no, I disagree with the way what the ZBA found, then you guys need to state that on the record and say, no, I feel that this particular factor number 1, was met because of ABC. I felt that factor number 2 was met because of 1, 2, 3, whatever it is. So you make your own findings of facts at that point. That's what's required by the law if you guys want to go counter to what the ZBA did.
And that would be at the second reading, not necessarily of the first reading, which is we're at today. There's no need for finding a fact today.
Correct.
Thanks.
I will say, though, that if you want to do some of the groundwork now and have some of those discussions about, well, council, what do you think? You know, that would just shorten your, you know, meeting on, you know, at the next go around.
Madam Mayor?
Alderman Busker?
Yes, you know, I think with the zoning board making their decision there, you know, I hate to guess what they were thinking or whatnot, but, you know, I think if we do decide to move this forward, any other plans and whatnot, you know, definitely need to be vetted through the zoning board. You know, we've got to, or in the planning, because there's a lot of questions still unanswered, but I'd hate to pass up an opportunity to have some development. We haven't had willing investors to invest this much money in this community quite a while, so I definitely think there's got to be a lot more discussion between the city and the developers on making sure that this is going to be something that's workable for the community. That, you know, we're not going to tax our infrastructure or the neighbors' properties or anything beyond control, but I'd like to make a motion to change the zoning at this time. As long
So
as
to
we,
move
as long
this
as we,
ordinance forward, is that what
yes,
you're
I
saying?
make a motion to move this forward as long as we have those discussions, and we're not just gonna rubber stamp this thing through. We've got to really do our homework on this.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Berberay to move ordinance 2021-31 on to the next regularly scheduled meeting. Is there any further discussion on the map amendment, council? Alderman Borneman?
I just have a comment. With regards to the public comments, those opposed, those were probably three of the best public comments that I can recall. And the points they made were well articulated. But again, outside of Ms. Ollinger's, sorry if I mispronounced that, she labeled the issue, described the issue well. This is a zoning issue, whether or not it is appropriate for any amount of multi-unit homes to be on there, not the plat or the plan, which was referenced by other people. And I understand their concerns. You know, to walk through the ZBA process, it's a change in zoning. The ZBA, I mean, Mr. Nowicki said the ZBA turned down the plan. I mean, again, I feel like we're not here to approve, and if this moves forward and is heard at a second, well, it sounds like it was already moved forward, but even at that second reading, it's not an approval of this plan, it's an approval of the idea that this land can be, this land can have multi-unit housing structures on it, so multi-housing unit structures on it. So it's important to keep that in mind, and that's why I brought those questions up initially, because we have to identify that the issue is narrowly tailored to a change in the map amendment right now, not an approval of the plans, which, if I'm not mistaken, as we discussed at the Committee of the Whole, this process starts over. If this were to be approved, the process would start over to approve the plat through the Planning Commission, correct, Director Hines?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The process to approve any type of development would have to start at the Planning Commission.
Yeah, so for the condominium chapter, the final plat will have to have a public hearing at the planning commission. It doesn't get reviewed by the zoning board, just the planning commission. And then it would come to council for one reading.
There would be a public hearing, though, so a chance for all parties to present evidence. Okay. I just, at the end of the day, sorry, I've been talking a lot this meeting, but there's some important things on the agenda. I struggle to agree with the ZBA's conclusion that this land, this parcel, this 6-acre lot is inappropriate to have any amount of multi-housing units on it. And people who are opposed to this, who have given public comment, have said, we're not against development, we're against this development. So this vote here is not approving this development, it's approving the idea of development, which even some of the objectors have said, we're not against that. So there's a lot of left to be done, but I can understand why people would be frustrated at today's decision, but keep in mind that this is one step in a long process. Thank you.
Okay, unless there's no further discussion, we'll move on to item number 9, which is the adoption of Resolution 2021-33. Could you please read this?
Resolution granting easement to ComEd on Park Boulevard.
Thank you, Your Honor. The City of Freeport owns and maintains a property south of Laurel and west of Park Boulevard. ComEd's approached the city about adding a 10-foot wide easement running north and south. It is for buried power lines that will be connected to some switching gear. There's a power pole existing on the corner of Laurel and Park on the south corner of Laurel. That pole will be upgraded with some switching gear. So staff is recommending council approve the easement for Commonwealth Edison.
Questions, discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Alderman Busker?
yeah, I make a motion to adopt Resolution R 2021-33.
Second.
Alderman Shadle?
Just a quick question for Rob. This isn't going to create any issues. That's a water department building on the corner that we have there?
It's on the south corner, so there is some storm sewer there, but the 10-foot easement that they're looking for is actually 20 foot away from the closest storm.
So it's not something that we're going to end up having to fight if we have to do some digging there in the future?
No, sir, no.
Any other questions? Then we have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Ross to approve the adoption of Resolution 2021-33. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Ross?
Aye.
Parker?
Aye.
Busker?
Aye.
Shadle? Misick?
Aye.
Berberet?
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
The resolution is adopted 7-0.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to reports of department heads. Finance.
Thank you, Your Honor. I do have two things this evening I'd like to let council know. Later this week, many of the department heads and the finance department are meeting regarding ExecuTime software. The council approved it last fall as part of a module for our new financial software as a whole. ExecuTime is going to allow us to do electronic recording of timesheets and payroll. So currently we use paper. So we're going to move ahead with ExecuTime. It also offers advanced scheduling, so police and fire and also the library, I believe, are going to take advantage of some scheduling functions that the software will have. So it'll help us with scheduling time off, vacation, and also getting all the shifts full. and that kind of thing. So that's happening later this week. We did, just as a side note, elect to kind of wait till the audit was over in order to start this additional process with the software. Also, we are just at the very beginning stages of laying out the budget schedule for 2022. So as soon as that gets all done, City Manager Bucas and I will be going over that and laying out with the department heads how we're collecting data and things. And also this year it'll be a little different because we're going to be able to use the new financial software for the department heads to input their own numbers and things like that. So just wanted to let everyone know.
Thank you. Community Development?
Thank you. I just wanted to let council know that HB Plastics, the subcontracting asbestos inspector, started going out today to abate the asbestos in the building. So they'll be starting the demolition hopefully anytime soon now. And then there was one last residential property that we had in a bid just a few months ago that should also be demolished within the next month or so. It's on Liberty, South Liberty Avenue. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Public Works?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just wanted to pass along to council. Work's going very well on Empire. Martin has completed 2 full lifts from Park to Burchard. They'll be finishing up the tie-ins, raising the manholes, concreting in, and doing the pavement striping here relatively soon. So if you haven't had a chance to drive down it, you're getting pretty close to the finished product at this point. You can drive down there and enjoy your ride. Thank you.
Thank you. Fire Department?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The only thing I have to report this evening is that the Salvation Army is holding their Christmas in July campaign, and it's going to be this Friday and Saturday. The police department and the fire department are doing Battle of the Badges at Walmart from 8 to 6 that day, so we'd appreciate the community support in that little bit of a battle and friendly competition with each other. Then Saturday, the board of directors for the Salvation Army will be ringing, along with service clubs. Our local service clubs are going to be helping us out with bell ringing also at Cubs and at Farm and Fleet. So we do appreciate the community support, and this year's theme for Christmas in July for the Salvation Army is standing in the gap. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. Police Department?
I have no report tonight, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And Library?
Thank you, Mayor Miller. We're continuing on with all of our summer programming, and I wanted to let you know that on Wednesday, July 28th at 6:30 p.m., Heather Sings is presenting Girls of the 50s, where favorite female vocalists like Doris Day, Patti Page, Judy Garland, and Debbie Reynolds will be discussed, and also you can enjoy live music by those women. So if that interests you, come on over.
Thank you. IT? Thank you. And City Manager's report?
Thank you, Your Honor. First I'd like to report on is that our bond pricing for the 2021 street improvement bond will be tomorrow. And we're having a closing scheduled for August 5th. So we're looking at having that $2 million sometime in the first week of August there. So, and then we'll be coming back to council with some quotes on the paver and roller that we need, and then we'll be looking at our 2022 paving program. Also for the community's information too, you know, we've had our Code Red weather warning system in effect for quite some time now, but we don't have very many residents that are signed up for it. And this is a system where the city uses to notify people of when there's missing persons or children, a natural disaster may be coming or hitting our area, boil advisories, weather issues, road closures, etc. And in order to sign up for the service, you have to go to the city's website at www.cityofFreeport.org and scroll down to about the middle of the page, and in the middle of the page it says interactive resources, and under interactive resources there's the Code Red community notification. You click on that and fill in your name and telephone numbers that you want to use, and you're in the system. So it's pretty simple. I think we only have a couple of thousand people signed up for it, and we'd like to get at least 90% of the community signed up if at all possible. And that's all I have for tonight, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. I just have two things I want to remind council of. This Thursday, the 22nd, is Ramps Wheelathon. Ramps Wheelathon, which is at 5:45. Ramps' mission of building an inclusive community that encourages individuals with disabilities to reach their full potential. So I would ask that you please consider donating and attending this year's event, as well as a reminder that the following Thursday, which is the 29th, is our Staff on the Street event at 5 o'clock at Wilbur Park. And that's all I had for this evening. And Alderman Ross.
Nothing tonight, ma'am.
Thank you. Alderman Parker?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Alderman Busker?
Just a reminder of the Fifth Ward Neighborhood Watch meeting tomorrow night at the First Church of the Nazarene at Carroll and Empire. It'll be 6 o'clock.
Thank you. Alderman Shadle?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Alderman Meisek?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. And Alderman Berberet?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. And Alderman Borneman?
Nothing for me, thanks.
That was a quick new business there tonight, so thank you, council. That will leave us with public comments. I know there were 4 of you that had signed up. If you wanted to take those 3 minutes now, that's your choice. All right.
Dan Nipshield again, 1560 La Cresta Drive, or you can refer to it as the La Cresta Speedway because that's I know everybody knows that sign. So that's another thing. That guy that called in that was in favor of the project, he even said the same reason that I'm up here. La Cresta Drive is a nightmare for traffic and pedestrians. No matter what you have, you're going to add density over there, which increases traffic to my area. And I don't want any increase in traffic to my area. I can guarantee no one on La Cresta Drive wants this. I don't know anybody wants it. This is a very recreational street with no sidewalks for the city. There's plenty of pedestrians and bicyclers every day. And also I'd like to add, this new development is going to add, it's going to need all new public sewer systems. We're going to have a meeting next year on where to find the money for that sewer system. You're having a hard time finding $200,000 a night. Is that going to be $1 million we got to find for the taxpayers? I don't agree to that adding any money to my sewer bill to fund this project. I understand there is no sewer over there, but is that an increase to the water bill? That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening?
Hi, everybody. I'm James Barrett. I live on La Cresta Drive. And this development, I'm all for developments. I mean, that's great. We should have developments like this. Guys willing to spend money to help our community, that's great. But in that location there, I mean, if he wouldn't make it so big, you know, he's got 32 units in there. I mean, man alive, that's, you know, he's just packing them in there. And that's a residential area. That's why we all bought into a residential area. We didn't buy into right next to a condominium complex, you know. And it's got so many negatives. And the only positive thing is it might bring him some tax money for you once he gets going. I mean, it's not going to start right away. I mean, it might take 10 to 15 years before he gets all the units completed, you know. He might only sell 7 right away, so then he'll build 3 more, and maybe, you know. This could go on for years, just like all the other condominiums. There's so many that aren't even completed. I mean, we got 4 or 5 now that are half empty. We've got a lot of space up in Marvin Lane. I mean, geez, a beautiful area to build anything. And the road's there. There's no trees to take down. I mean, it's just like, you know, put them where you got everything ready to go instead of tearing down that area, especially right going into Crape Park there. It's a beautiful area. That park is our gold star. I mean, going into that park, I remember going in as a kid. They used to have a flag up there, a big flag, just like the water fountain has. You know, the waterfall, the same size, going into the park. And that's on the property, too. The flagpole is still there, but I don't know what happened to the flag. That would be beautiful to get that re-erected. But I mean, it's just going to affect the whole neighborhood. And You might make a few bucks down the road, maybe here and there, but there's so many negative effects with the water, a drainage system we got there, and the traffic, and all the bikers and walkers. We're encouraging all that stuff, and it's going to be a heavy area with all those cars. You figure 32 units, you're going to have about 60, 70 cars, and then some occasions where people get together. I mean, you got family coming over. You're talking over 100 cars there. I don't know where they're going to park. There's no parking. You can't park on the side street. That's not allowed. But of course, people are going to do it. Who's going to enforce that? And when it snows, man, the snow, they got nowhere to go with that snow. I mean, these things are packed in there. You know, the road, I mean, a big couple fire trucks would just block everything out of there. And it's, I don't know. I got a whole list of stuff, but I know I only got 3 minutes. So, I mean, I just hope you decide, because that vote, you're talking about, you know, we really don't want condominiums, Eric. We want residential in there. That's a residential area. You know, we don't mind development. Put some nice homes in there, 7, 8, 10, whatever kind of nice in there.
Thank you. Your 3 minutes has exceeded. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else? You're welcome to make a comment when this lady's done.
My name is Angie Schoenhard, and I live at 1501 West Demeter Drive. My neighbors and I have organized and created a neighborhood group against this development. I wanted to offer you all more context as to who we are. 9 households in our neighborhood have contributed financially to enable us to retain an attorney as well as cover consultant fees. An additional 27 people attend meetings, have collected and read the 100+ pages of documents related to the development, made dozens of phone calls with questions to the city on the process, and talked with consultants in many fields relevant to the project. The people you might recognize at these meetings are speaking for the group. While we wish every single person could be at every meeting, jobs, family, summer plans, and vacations create conflicts for many. We have started an online and paper petition against the development. As of today, we have amassed 527 online signatures and 20 paper signatures. The petition has been shared approximately 200 times on social media. A copy of the petition letter, along with signatures and comments, will be emailed to all of you in the upcoming days once the petition is closed. I wanted to share with you a few of the comments that are representative of what the public's opinion is of this development. We as the neighborhood group are not alone in our opposition. The public is very much watching and listening. These are direct quotes from petition signers that are outside of our neighborhood group. No one in Freeport except the wealthiest could afford to live in this development. The rationale for proceeding, that it's good for Freeport, is specious. It is only good for the developers and the folks that may be able to buy there, no one else. This is my neighborhood. I live in the neighboring parkway. It doesn't seem proper to have a lot surrounded by single-family homes suddenly modified to pack in 32 couples. The disruption to the crown jewel that is Crate Park and its parkway would be a travesty. The planned layout is horrifying. While I appreciate the owner's desire to gain some profit from the land, it would be better served to have a single family or divided into 2 to 3 parcels for single-family homes. Crate Park is one of the biggest assets the city has, and to do anything to impact the park in a negative manner would be detrimental to the city. In closing, we are portrayed by the developers as a stubborn and uncooperative group, quote, willing to do anything to kill this project. They're unwilling to talk to them, and nothing will make us happy. Our mission is to preserve the character of our neighborhood and the entrance of our beloved Crate Park. We are not being stubborn and uncooperative. We are simply unrelenting in our mission. We want something better for our neighborhood. We're not opposed to development in Freeport, excuse me, or even at this location. However, we would only support a less risky development with a proven need in our community, not a hunch. We simply care deeply about our neighborhood and community and do not want such a dense development with a myriad of problems on the corner of Park and West Demeter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
I spoke before, and I ended with a short discussion about the availability of funds and the return to the investors. The cost, the profit, the return on investment are not part of the city council's consideration to approve or disapprove this amendment. But the truth and transparency indicate credibility of the statements made by the developers, including the number of units built, the area and number of floors, and whether or not Section 8 rentals will be tenants in the future. Enactment of this amendment can potentially have consequences far beyond one parcel in South Park Boulevard. I am certain the council members will carefully and completely consider all the arguments in favor of or opposed to this amendment before your final vote is made. Your vote should be based on research, review of comments and testimony made, and your conscience, and not because another council member or city official is in favor of it. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and I also thank you all for your public service.
Is there anyone else this evening?
My name's Michelle Royster. I live at 1541 La Cresta, directly abuts this property development to the north. I know everybody is wanting development, but the zoning really means everything to this project. This isn't just about the zoning and the project separately. I know people just want to separate these items. Listen to what is being said and what is being written in opposition to you. This zoning does not fit this area. We are still wanting you to vote no for this zoning. I would like to point out that some applicants' comments at the committee of the whole meeting were misleading. Particularly important were his comments on density of units. It was mentioned under R2 zoning, he could place 20 single-family homes on the property under R5 zoning, and he could put 64 condos on the property. To get these numbers, he is dividing the 6+ acres by minimum lot size under the code. Obviously, he couldn't really do this because he must build roads and have right-of-ways for the utilities. In fact, if you look at the plat, 1.3 acres is lost to the road building. Furthermore, the lot size that limits the number of units. Because of the size of the condo units, it's the minimum setbacks, front, rear, and side, that limit the design. Of the 16 buildings in proposal, all of them are at the minimum setback, and all but one are minimum front and back setback. The second misleading issue is comparison to Park View condos, as we refer to them, but are called garden apartments. The garden apartments are a successful and attractive condo-style development in town. It has more units at 35 versus 32 on a similar sized lot on the 1601 South Park View proposal, but there are important differences. The design is suited to the site. Many units exit directly to Church Street, wider and less busy than Park Boulevard. An internal road and cul-de-sac runs through the center of the remaining lots in the garden apartment complex. All roads measure over 30 feet and have sidewalks. The setbacks match or exceed the neighboring single-family homes. It uses berms to screen views. They have amenities such as programming, shared common space, and guaranteed access to long-term care. This is a price point below the Park Partners what they're projecting. The garden apartments cost $178,000, and I better stop there, otherwise I'll get cut off. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Tommy.
I want to tell Jody Miller, thank you for talking about the Wamp Willow Farm.
You're welcome, Tommy.
And I hear they're going to have pork and everything.
Well, then make sure you're on time.
And Matt Summers going to miss that. And Matt Summers want to know how's Monet Forrest.
She's doing well.
And Chief, I hear I heard they had the ambulance over at Walmart for Joe.
I don't know about that call.
Yes, he told me about it.
Glad we were able to help.
I want to thank Kristen Hines, doing a good job with the city of Freeport.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comments this evening? Yes,
I would like to say one more thing.
sure.
A really good way of making decisions is not making them and then looking for evidence, but looking for evidence and then making the decision. And I think, Alderman Borneman, that you're going at it backwards. Look at the evidence and then make the decision. And don't close your eyes to evidence in front of you.
Are there any other comments?
Obviously, we are connecting the proposed plan to the zoning change. We don't know the law, so that was new to us, and apparently maybe to the zoning board of appeals. We had set up to have a meeting with the applicant and the neighborhood group so we can have a back and forth. We find these 3 minutes pretty challenging. And invite the city council members so we can all talk together. Mr. Wiegans has a death in the family out of town, so he is unable to commit at this time. And with the zoning change, or with the motion on the table, we think that we should just cancel that and postpone that until soon. Because we realize then we have one chance at a public hearing with the planning commission, and then only one vote with you to do 3 minutes. So, so I just wanted to let you know, thank you for those that were going to come this Thursday, but we will postpone that and we'll let you know another date. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
I just wanted to point out again, I live directly across the street from this proposed development, and I'm also a concerned citizen. I've lived here, I've returned back to the community in 1991, and in the 30 years that I've been back, not only has my business really supported the community that I was a part of, but I've been a volunteer within the community for those entire 30 years. You know, this is my community, and I love it very much. This whole concept started when we read your comprehensive plan, and we read it, and we believed it. We found it sad that there was only one residential home in the last 10 years, and we want to do something good for this community, and we believe we can do that. And I believe we can work out the issues with the neighborhood group, but not all the neighbors are opposed. I'm certainly not opposed. I'm one of the applicants. But the commercial enterprise directly across the street is not opposed to this project. And I want to thank Alderman Ross, because your comment at the committee of the whole meeting was able to do something I was unable to do for 2.5 months, and that is move forward on a meeting. And I will follow through with the group and make sure that meeting occurs. And whether that be Thursday or whenever, it will occur. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 15, which is executive session. Madam Clerk, could you read this for the record?
Pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C6, the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body. pursuant to 5 ILCS 122C11, litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion to enter executive session?
So moved.
We have a motion made by Alderman Busker, seconded by Alderman Parker. Madam Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Ross. Parker.
Aye.
Busker.
Aye.
Shadle. Meissick.
Aye.
Berbere.
Aye.
And Borneman.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.